So perimeter area and circumference for 9.4. We're going to determine the perimeter of a polygon, determine the areas of polygons and circles, and we're going to determine the circumference of a circle. Okay, so first slide we're going to answer is the perimeter of a polygon is the sum of the measures of the side to form its sides. So I like to equate the perimeter. I like to look at like a yard. I like to equate this to a yard, like a backyard. So if we're looking at, here's our board. Okay, our backyard. Perimeter would be the same thing in our yard as if we had a fence around the yard. So the length of this fence all the way around is the perimeter. Okay? And so that would be true for a square, a rectangle, any shape. Okay? It's all it is just you just add up all the sides. Okay? That's all you're doing, adding up all the sides. Okay, so the perimeter of this triangle, you're just adding up all the sides. So here I have a triangle here. Basically, if you're looking at each one of these discs as a length, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that would be one side, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, that'd be another side, so that 5 plus 11, right, is 16, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, so 16 plus 13, that'd be 29. So that would be equivalent to 29 whatever units, inches or whatever you're looking at. Okay, so you're just adding up all the sides. Okay, so the perimeter, again, you're looking at the length of one side of a rectangle is going to be the same size on the like if one length is 5, then the other length will be 5 as well. If the width is, let's say, so that'd be 5 and 5 and 10. So here the width was 3 on one side and the width was 3 on the other, so that'd be 3 plus 3 is 6. So 10 plus 6 would be a perimeter of 16. So you can add up length plus width, or you could just say 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. Okay. So, but all you're doing is just adding up all the sides. Okay, so here we have a plot of land, the shape of a rectangle. If it has 50 feet and length of 50 feet and width of 26 feet, how much fencing would be needed to complete the plot? So if you're looking at, here's our yard again, here's 50 feet and 26 feet. Okay, so here's our board. So we've got 50 feet and 26 feet. Well, if this side's 50, then this side's 50, right? So we can say that the perimeter is 2 times 50, right? Which is 100. And then if this side's 26, this side's 26 as well, so that would be 2 times 26 feet. Well, 6 is 12, that's 52. So we're looking at 100 plus 52 is 152 feet for our perimeter. So if you were to take this fence, right, and opened it and went in and laid it out flat and measured it, you would measure 152 feet. Okay? So if you wanted to put a fence around the yard, you would take a roll out chain link fence and you'd measure 152 feet and you'd know that that's what you need to enclose your yard. Okay, any questions there? Okay, so your unit of measure for perimeter is just, in this case, just feet. Okay. Perimeter of a square. Well, if one side, what's the length? The length is what relation from one side to the other side in a square. Are they all the same or different? So if one length is, let's say, 3, right? What's the other length going to be? 3, 3, 3, right? So you could just say, all right, perimeter is the same on all 4 sides. So if I know what one side is, all I have to do is just multiply 4 to get each side. So you may want to write this down. Perimeter. Triangle. Is A plus B plus C, rectangle, two times the length plus 2 times the width, square, 4 times the length of a side. Okay, so I would recommend that you have a sheet that shows all the formulas on one sheet. Okay, now you're going to have it on the PowerPoint slide, but I would go as far as, even if you just flipped it on the back of the last page and wrote them all down on the back of the last page so that you've got it organized on one sheet, so that when you go through the homework and quizzes and tests and all that, you've got all the formulas right there in front of you on one sheet. So I would recommend that you do that. Okay? And so I'm going to write them on the board here. And so as we go through this, I'll add more formulas. Okay? So here we have a square chessboard. There's a perimeter of 34 inches. What's the length of the side? Now, I like to draw a picture. Okay? I like to draw a picture of. So here's our chessboard, and we're saying it's 34 inches. And but this is, no, I'm wrong here. This is the perimeter. Perimeter is 34 inches, but we want the length of each side. So here we're given the perimeter and we want to find the side. In the past we were given the sides and we had to find the perimeter. Here we're given the perimeter and we got to find the sides. So we look at, okay, I know what my perimeter equation is for a square. It's P equal to 4S, right? So where's that 34 inches going to go? Is it going to go where the P is or the S? We want to find the side, the length of the side. Okay? So where's this 34 going to go? Is it going to go with the P or the S? The P. Good. So 34 is going to go in the P, 34 inches. And I like to write the units in there too, because then when you get your answer, you already have your units. So we want to solve for S, right? And I put these little marks on the S so it's not confused for a 5. Okay, so now we want to solve for S. Well, what do we do to solve for S? We got to isolate that S. We got to get it by itself. So what do we do with that 4? Divide, right. Divide 4. Divide 4. Okay? So S is going to equal, now 4 doesn't divide evenly into 34, right? So I believe it comes out to be about 8.5. Am I right on that? So you divide it, yeah, 8.5. Okay, so we get 4 divides into 34 and we get 8.5 inches. And that's our answer. Okay, so that means each side is 8.5. 8.5, 8.5, 8.5. Okay, so if you took 8.5 and multiplied it times 4, you should get 34. Okay, yes?
I can go to the division column at 1140.
You what?
I can go to the division column at 1140.
Okay, you know, you guys, you're all adults here. Okay, so I'm not going to keep you, but keep in mind whatever we cover, you're responsible for. All right. Now I'll have a video on it, so be sure that you watch the video. Okay. All right. Okay. Any questions there? Okay. Area of a polygon. Okay, the area of a polygon, the amount of plane surface covered by a polygon is called its area, and it's measured in square units. So I like to go back to our yard, right? So here's our picture of our yard. And okay. So in this yard, we already had our fence, right? That's the perimeter. So with the yard, area would be, you get your lawnmower out and you start mowing the grass. And you go back up one, the other, one way, back the other, back and forth. And you keep going and you're mowing your lawn until you get the whole lawn mowed, right? And that's area. That is area. Okay, so you mowed your lawn and you covered the entire area, right? You mowed the entire area of your lawn. Okay, so fence is perimeter, mowing the lawn, that's area. So let's say your lawnmower is 2 feet wide, right? So if you go back 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, so eventually you'll cover the whole area, right? I didn't mean to cut that part off. But. Okay, any questions with that? So that's area. All right. So area of a rectangle is length times width. Okay, so covered perimeter, area. And so we said that the area of a rectangle length times the width. Okay. So here we have our rectangle, and we have 15 feet, and we have 7 feet. Okay. So so here's our problem. So therefore area is going to be 15 feet times, or we'll use parentheses, I think that just looks cleaner. 15 feet times 7 feet. So 15 times 7, that's going to give us 105. 105. And your units, so let me raise this up. Your units are going to be feet times feet is going to be feet squared. So area units are units squared. Okay, you're multiplying the units. That's why I like to use the units in the calculation, because then you get the units right every time when you do it like that. Okay? So our answer here is 105 square feet. Questions? Okay, so if you're talking about, let's say, forest fires in California, forest fire, like here, and they talk about, well, the fire covered 1,000 square feet, or 1,000 square miles. No, that's too much. Let's say it covers 10 square miles. Okay. Well, it could be 2 miles by 5 miles, right? And that would be 10 square miles. So you see how that works, application-wise? All right. Okay, the area of a square is just, since we only need to know, since all the sides are the same, right? We only need to know one side. It's side times side, right? Like length times width. But since the sides are the same, it'll just be side square. The area. This should be area here, not P. This should be an A here. This should be an A. A equals side squared. So that's A equals to side squared. Okay. So the area of a square side squared. Now you could use length times width, but you're only going to be given one side, right? So if it's 2, right, you could say 2 times 2, or just say 2 squared. Okay? All right. Area of a parallelogram is base times the height. Now, here I have a parallelogram. Okay? Parallelogram basically has 2 pairs of opposite sides that are what in relation to each other? Well, yeah, the same side, but there's something else different that's the same as well. Like railroad tracks. They're parallel, right? They're parallel. 2 sides are parallel. So you're going to take the length of one side. So let's say if I took this meter stick here and I measured it, and it measures out to be, and I'm just looking at from here, these are like joining together. So if this side here is 6 inches and the height is 3 inches, 6 times 3, that would be 18, right? That would be an area of 18 inches squared. So the area of a parallelogram is base times the height. Area equals the base times the height. And you may even want to draw it out. So you would draw it offset. The sides are offset from each other, and then, so think of a parallelogram, the sides are parallel. Well, what's the difference between a parallelogram and a rectangle? There's one difference. The sides are, the opposite sides are the same, and they're parallel. But the difference is the rectangle angles are what? All the angles in a rectangle (90 degrees). Yeah, they're 90 degrees. That's the only difference between a parallelogram and a rectangle. Okay. Here we have a problem. Find the area of the parallelogram. We have 6 centimeters and we have 15 centimeters. Okay, so what do we do here? Okay, here's our 6 and 15. Height is 6, length, base is 15. Okay, so to draw it, just offset, and it was the other way, right? Okay. Oh, it's okay. It's this way. Okay, so here's our parallelogram, right? And this is 6, and this is 15. So the area, what are we going to do here? To find the area of this parallelogram. And the units are centimeters. So this is 6 centimeters and 15 centimeters. Okay, how do we find that? Yeah, base times the height, right? Base times the height, or height times base, really doesn't matter. So that would be 15 centimeters times 6 centimeters, right? So that'd be what, 90, right? And centimeters times centimeters is centimeters squared. Okay? Questions there? All right. "90 centimeters squared." And that's our area. Questions there? Okay, area of a trapezoid. Well, let's look at what is a trapezoid. Well, a trapezoid has, whereas a parallelogram has 4 sides that are parallel, two pair of sides that are parallel, right? The top and bottom are parallel, the right and left are parallel. 2 pairs of opposite sides that are parallel. Whereas a trapezoid only has 1 pair of parallel sides. Okay? So, and those would be the base. This would be lowercase b and uppercase b. So the area of a trapezoid is 1/2 the height times the sum of the 2 bases. And notice the bases are in parentheses, so you have to add those up first before you can multiply the height. Okay, so this is one way of looking at a trapezoid. Well, another way of looking at a trapezoid is this figure here. Okay, where again you have one side and the other side are parallel, but in this case, one of the angles is 90 degrees, and that's okay. The other side's, that's not going to be parallel. Now you can have it like that, you can have it like this, upside down, don't matter, they're still trapezoids. Okay. All right. So let's write that down on our formula sheet. So a trapezoid. Area equals to 1/2 the height times the base, the sum of the 2 bases. So you may want to draw what a trapezoid looks like, and height, base, base. Okay. The height is always perpendicular to the base. Notice there's that rectangle looking figure, meaning these 2 sides are perpendicular, which makes them form what kind of angle? Between the height and the base, what kind of angle is that? 90 degrees, right? But that rectangle looking symbol means that those sides are perpendicular. But perpendicular sides form right angles, so we always know that's a right angle. Okay, so here we have our next figure, right? So I like to draw these out. And we have 7 centimeters and 5 centimeters and 13. Okay, so obviously this is not drawn to scale, but that's okay. The idea is to help us with our calculation. Okay, so we want to find the area. So that's 1/2 the height times the sum of the two bases, right? So this will be 1/2 times what? 5 centimeters. And what goes inside the parentheses? 7 plus 13, right? 7 centimeters plus 13 centimeters. Okay, so order of operations tells us what do we do first? Parentheses, right? So we just carry that 1/2 times 5 centimeters. 7 plus 13, that gives us what? 20, right? Centimeters. Okay. So now here, we could cancel, right? You could say, all right, 5 times 20 is 100, and then half of 100 is 50. Or I like to cancel when the numbers are smaller, because it's easier. 2 can go into 20 how many times? 10, right? So now that's 5 times 10, 5 centimeters. Yeah. See how much easier that is? And that's going to be 50. And then centimeters times centimeters is centimeters. Good. Centimeters squared. And that's our area to this trapezoid. Okay? All right. Questions there. So if you had a backyard, right, that was trapezoidal in shape, you could figure out how much square footage you would have to mow, right? Okay, questions there. All righty. Okay, area of a triangle. Oh, notice there's similarities here between the area of a trapezoid and the area of a triangle. Okay, area of a triangle is 1/2 base times the height, right? Whereas the area of a triangle is 1/2 height times, well, a trapezoid has 2 bases, right? So if you forget the area of a trapezoid, just think, well, it's like a triangle. You just got to add another base to it. Okay? So let's break this down. Triangle. Area is 1/2 base times the height. Okay, so we added that to our formula sheet. Okay. Well, what if this is fine when the height is inside the triangle, but here we have, oops, I'm going the wrong way. Here we have an obtuse triangle, right? Where the height is still perpendicular to the base, but the height is outside the triangle. So that would be similar to what I have here. Where in this case, the height is outside the triangle. Okay? So you still have to get the height because the height is always perpendicular to the base. So you would figure out what the height is here, which is 50 centimeters, and the base is 20 centimeters. So we want the area of that triangle Okay, so this is 50 centimeters, and this is 20 centimeters. Okay, so in our board here, so we have to figure out, it's still 1/2 base times the height, right? Area, 1/2 base times the height. So the height is going to be the same here as if it was over here. Okay, so it'll still be 1/2, base is 20 centimeters, height is 50 centimeters. Again, I like to go ahead and cancel when the numbers are smaller. So we can cancel 2 and a 20 or 2 and a 50, it really doesn't matter. So 2 and a 20 is what? 10, right? Cell phones, when you take them outside. Cell phone, when you take it out in the hall. 10 centimeters. Okay, so now that makes it easy, right, to find the area here, which will be what? Well, you just take 50 and add a 0, which is what? 500. And the units will be centimeters, what? Centimeters times centimeters is centimeters squared, right? So area is always units squared. Okay? So you can make life a little easier in your calculations by breaking it down early on. Okay, questions there? All right. Circumference. Now we're getting circumference. The circumference of a circle is the distance around the circle, called the circumference. Well, what do I like to equate that to? All right, we're back to our backyard again, right? And here's our backyard. And we get this puppy, right? And so we put this puppy on a chain. And the puppy goes round and round and round and wears a path. That is circumference. Okay? That is circumference. So if you took that and measured it around, right, you would find circumference. All right. So circumference, there's two equations. If you know the diameter, then it's pi times diameter. Well, what is pi? We know pi is 3.14, right? But pi is the ratio between the diameter and the circumference. So in other words, if we took this chain, right, and we measured the chain 1/2, well, if it's let's say 5 feet one side, it's going to be 5 feet on the other, right? And so that would be a diameter of 10. So we would took that diameter and we divided it and we measured the circumference, right? Get my board here. Here's our yard again, right? If we took the chain, right? Let's say it was 5 and 5, and then we measured the path from, let's say, started here and go all the way around, measured it. That would be, and we divided it. That would be 3.14159, and it's a irrational number. It goes on forever. So that's what pi is. It's the ratio between the circumference and the diameter. Okay? Circumference divided by diameter. That's all pi is. So circumference is, you can also use 2 times pi times r. So we're going to add that to our formula list. So circumference, so we'll put circle here. So circumference is 2 times pi times the radius, or 2 times the diameter, since the diameter equals to 2 times the radius. Okay, so if we took this radius here, the radius, so the radius, this is 5, this is 5, this is 5, 5. No matter where you're at on this circle, the radius is going to be 5. So the diameter goes from one end of the circle to the other. So it's just 2 times the radius. Okay? So that means the area of a circle is pi times r squared. Well, let's go back to our puppy in our yard. So here's our puppy, right, in our yard, and he wore out a pad, right? Now, if this puppy kept going around and around and around, eventually he would wear out the grass inside the circle. And so you would get a big circle that has no grass in it. That's the area of a circle. Okay? So the area of a circle is the puppy wore out not only the pad, but on the ground and wore out all the grass. Okay? And that's area. So area of a circle is pi times the radius squared. Okay? Questions there? So if they give you diameter and you want to find area, you have to divide the diameter by 2 to get radius first, and then find it. Okay, find the area and circumference of a circle with a radius of 6 inches. Okay, and we're going to use 3.14 rounded. So we're using pi rounded off. Okay. Now your calculator goes on to like 15 decimal places. So that's why you may get a different number if you use the pi button on your calculator than if you just use 3.14, because the calculator goes further out. Okay, since pi is irrational, it goes on forever. Okay, so here's our circle, and the radius we said is 6. And we want to find area. Okay? All right, so what do we do? Area equals what? What do we put? Pi, right, times the radius, which is what? 6. And we put the units in there too, squared, right? And so that would be, in terms of pi, that would be 36 pi inches squared. So if we wanted the answer in terms of pi, that's how we would write it. But if we want it written out as a decimal, then this would be 36 times 3.14 inches squared. Okay, and so that would give us 113.04 inches squared. Okay, so that's area. Questions? Well, we also want to find circumference, right? So the equation for circumference is what? 2 times what? It's pi times the radius, right? So that would be 2 times pi times 6 inches. Well, if we wanted the answer in terms of pi, this would be 2 times 6 is what? 12 pi inches. But if we want it as a decimal, then that would be 12 times what? Yeah, 3.14 inches. And so 12 times 3.14 is 37.68. 37.68 inches. So circumference is like the perimeter for a circle. Okay? Circumference was the path the puppy wore out, right? Whereas area is like mowing the yard, except for the puppy wore out the chain, or wore out the grass, yes.
So we can write it like with pi or 10 right at the decimal.
Well, it depends on how the homework wants you to write it. So let me see how the homework, the homework has been asking it in decimals. So this book doesn't necessarily want the answer in terms of pi. But later on, when we get into surface area and that, it's a whole lot easier to figure it out in terms of pi first, and then take the final answer and then figure out the decimal. So we'll get into that in the next lesson. Okay? So good question there. All right, so that answers that question. That concludes lesson 9.4. All right. Have a good day. Let me know if you have any questions.